We up and I'm feeling like a new me. Stacking new sets, some new E. NFTs, all of them you need. Back in my zone like 2-3. All time high, hit a new peak. Let's go. Homie, the Bulls is back. I said the Bulls is back.
So welcome back to the channel. In this one, we're taking a look at Unstake Fi. So the ability to unstake your locked, staked up positions instantly. So this is a new one to the Kujira ecosystem. We had an airdrop of this token in the previous month, back on November the 7th. So we're going to break down this protocol here, look at what can be done with this platform, the benefits of it, and also we'll look at the tokenomics as well. So if you enjoy this one, make sure you do subscribe to the channel and we'll jump on in. So quick scan of the Kujira ecosystem here, a lot of green. Kuji has broken out once again. Unstake here, the second largest market cap on the Kujira chain, up quite big over the last 7 days as well there. And then some big green numbers from the likes of MantaDAO and WinkHub on here also. So what the heck is Unstake Fi? Do give them a follow. Well, I succinctly put this post together just earlier. The Team Kujira boys have cooked Unstake Fi. So it is the same team from Kujira who have created this new protocol, and it utilizes Ghost, which is the Kujira money market, so borrowing and lending, to allow for instant unstaking of locked positions. So as you can see from this, to unstake positions such as the Atom token, it takes 21 days to unbond. The same with Celestia, which will no doubt be listed on Kujira soon, 21 days to unbond that. Kuji itself takes 14 days, Injective as well, 21 days unstaking. So in terms of a utility, if we think back to Luna RIP, all those who were staking Luna during the crash were unable to unbond or unstake their tokens in time. So during times of panic, a good mantra to have is actually to panic early, but you were unable to get out of locked positions previously, but now with Unstake Fi, it opens this utility for everyone. So I'm sure a lot of people have been hurt by long staking periods previously, but with this tech and this new product, you're going to be able to actually stake with a bit more comfort, knowing you can exit your bags if needs be. So here on the Fin market for Unstake, ticker NSTK, memed the Nutsack token, which is pretty incredible. So not only a bit of a meme name, but also a good protocol here. As you can see from the chart, it is up only. A few periods of consolidation for maybe a week here or there, but most of the time this thing just keeps on trucking. This was an airdropped token as well, so that is very important. All of the tokens, 65 million of them, were just airdropped to everyone staking Kujira at that time, which is pretty insane. So the tokens all emitted, out there, live and kicking, and this gives it an approximate market cap somewhere around $12 million at this moment in time, maybe 13. So Esker's posted this over on Twitter. Unstake Fi now live. The mainnet launched just yesterday. His hot take, very impressed by it. So he looked at unstaking 1000 AMP Kuji, and this on Unstake Fi offered back 1017.9 Kujira. So AMP Kuji is a staked Kuji position over on Eris protocol. And this, he says, compared to 1013.5 Kuji if he swapped it on a DEX, because the LSD to Kuji swap is available on certain DEXs. We'll have a little look at that in just a second and look at the rates. And he says, hard not to see why every LSD wouldn't want to incorporate Nutsack or Unstake Fi. So there's multiple reasons for utilizing this over the traditional approach, which is having LSDs in an AMM against the native token. It's highly capital inefficient to have these AMM positions where you have a ton of tokens locked in the liquidity, literally doing nothing but just allowing for the AMM to actually function. But as you can see, and as we will see by going into the dApp, you can have the Unstake Fi vault loaded up with a load of tokens, and then people can easily utilize this to gain instant liquidity rather than having an AMM structure. So as he says, it removes the need for the LSDs to rely on second sources of liquidity, such as LPs and DEXs. And oftentimes the LSDs are incentivizing the trading pairs as well, giving out even more governance tokens just to ensure that there is enough liquidity. Additional to this, the actual redemption rate, so the swap fee on the DEX or the amount of tokens you can redeem by using Unstake, at the moment is showing as a better rate of return for customers. This of course could change in periods of high demand, So say a token is crashing and everyone wants to rush to the exits. Of course, with dynamic rates on the Ghost vaults, the costs will increase in times of major crises, but generally it will give a better price than an AMM structure. So here we have the main interface here of Unstake. As they say, don't wait, unstake. So this is live on mainnet as of just yesterday. And the only token currently on here is AMP Kuji, as I mentioned, from Eris protocol. So this is a staked Kuji position. And what it does is actually harvest all these staking rewards and converts those into more Kuji. So in a way, just an auto compounder, pretty cool protocol. And so on this application here, if we do just plug in 1000 AMP Kuji, it's showing a protocol rate of 1.0223, an offer rate of 1.0184, and a total return here of 1018.35 Kujira. So if I swap my AMP Kuji on Unstake, I'll get 1018 back right now. However, if I use a DEX, and Manta typically has some of the best swapping fees on the market here, 1000 AMP Kuji will give me 1013.5 Kujira back. So 113.5 versus 118.35. You can see the better rate is actually with Unstake. Now you'll see down the bottom here, reserves available, reserves in use, and the total unstaked so far quoted down here. More on that in just a moment. But I really do like this interface. It is very much similar to an AMM structure. So very familiar with people to utilize this, easy enough, connect your wallet, do the swap. It doesn't feel foreign at all. So they have nailed that straight away. UI wise, everything on Kuji is typically very, very good quality. So for an end user, if you just come and just compare the two, they look pretty similar, don't they? I don't really see why there would be a major barrier to using this rather than a DEX. I think people can just use this. They can see the buttons. It looks pretty obvious how to use it. And if it's giving you a bit more bang for your buck than using a DEX, well, people are going to vote with their clicks and utilize a protocol like this, in my opinion. Now, on the back end, as mentioned, this uses Ghost from Kujira, which is the borrow lend markets. So, of course, what the protocol will be doing is taking out a borrow position on your behalf and charging you a rate for actually utilizing this protocol in the background. So super interesting. This is going to boost the amount of usage of Ghost from Kujira by a metric ton, in my opinion, as I don't see why you wouldn't want to utilize this, and I don't understand why LSDs wouldn't want to utilize this as well. For the LSD, a lot more capital efficient. We don't have to lock up huge amounts of funds in AMMs. They don't have to incentivize AMMs. All they need to do is provide maybe some liquidity for these Ghost vaults to be tapped into. And if you just think about across the whole LSD landscape, there must be so much dead capital out there just sitting in swapping pools. So let's get some more alpha on the rates. So redemption rates, interest rates, offer rates, and how they inform protocol design. So straight from the horse's mouth of Unstake here, they say, when you unstake, the protocol borrows from Ghost during the unbonding period, and therefore you must pay the interest rate to the vault. The problem is predicting the total interest amount over the course of that period, 14 days, 21 days, etc. So some examples here. Say you're unstaking 100 staked Atom and the protocol redemption rate to Atom is 1.2. Let's say the current interest rate to borrow Atom from Ghost is 8% and the maximum interest rate is 200%. The unbonding period is 3 weeks. We know this. So the maximum amount from unbonding is 120 Atom tokens. They want to offer us as close to that as possible. And the absolute maximum that Unstake will have to pay to Ghost in 3 weeks is at 200% rate. So that calculates 200% on 120 Atom is 13.85 Atom. So that would be the maximum fee and a haircut of 11.6% in total. So they say, look, this is clearly way more than is reasonable to be paying. However, we also know that Ghost vaults typically restore to around 60% utilization pretty quickly when they get oversubscribed. So at a typical interest rate of around 8%, that is the kind of norm on there at the moment, the 3-week unbonding period will cost 0.55 Atom or 0.46% as an overall fee, which is a lot more reasonable. So if Unstake makes an offer at 0.46% and the rate actually increases beyond 8% during that time period, it wouldn't be able to repay Ghost, which isn't ideal, but neither is paying that 11% haircut. So the job of Unstake is to offer as close to 0.46 as possible while remaining solvent. So this is where the reserves kick in. And we saw from the interface they have reserves down here. Reserves available around 5,000 Kuji, 11 used thus far. As we saw in the example, the maximum shortfall is 13.85. So that is the max cost in Atom, less the 0.55, the agreed rate is around 13.3. So this unstake will only be offered if the reserve fund is greater than the maximum shortfall. When the unstake is executed, the max shortfall is committed from the reserves and only released once the unbonding period is complete and the actual interest confirmed. If the rate doesn't change, the reserve isn't used. This ensures there will always be funds to repay Ghost. So as you can see, this is the risk parameters here being managed. So now those figures we saw on that previous page make a bit more sense down here. So as they go on, the maximum amount of in-flight or unbonding tokens is constrained by the size of the reserve. Therefore, there will be a parameter set to charge an extra fee when the rates are low in order to increase the size of the reserves during these periods of low interest. So this will present as a minimum rate offered by the protocol. And when the Ghost interest rate is lower, any surplus is allocated to the reserves. And this also protects the protocol from abuse when the rates are exceptionally low and more likely to increase and consume the reserves. Then if we do have periods of high interest, the total in-flight can increase as the max shortfall between the offered rate and the max rate would be smaller. So we can kind of see the ins and outs, the workings there. Hopefully you don't need a maths degree to understand the workings behind this here, but the money market works on a dynamic interest rate as it quotes down here. And so this has been factored into the risk and also those reserves that need to be utilized for these unbonding periods. So super interesting to see. More on token here. So Unstake or Nutsack is a fully diluted project and all 65 mil tokens were airdropped directly to Kujira stakers. None for team, no pre-sale, no IDO, none of that shit. There is no inflation or unlocks. And so when Unstake staking goes live, watch the liquid supply disappear as Kuji community is highly likely going to be staking all their NSTKs. So super interesting airdrop approach. I hear there is going to be value accrual, so you're going to be able to stake the NSTK token and then some of the fees or the reserves as they accrue could be distributed back to token holders. No official documentation on that right now, but that is the thinking behind this thing. And to be honest with you, they wouldn't have created their own token if there wasn't going to be value accrual towards it. These guys over at Kujira are shit hot. So as KP did point out, the Unstake airdrop is now worth around a quarter of the amount of the Kuji you had staked at that point. Some people getting 6-fig airdrops on Kuji right now, and so there's high incentives to be staking your tokens on Kujira. And of course, once this gets into the full swing of things and there are more liquid staking tokens on here and active, it means there's no real downside to staking your tokens anymore. You're not locked in for your 14, your 21 days, etc. You have a release valve here. So this will actually help to increase staking across the protocols that are tapping into this more broadly. More stakers equals more tokens being used for validation and securing the underlying network. So that is a net positive. And also, if you think about it, maybe you want to start getting the airdrops of maybe a Kujira or an Injective or a Celestia if they happen. The drawdown of having to stake for a long period is no longer going to be there. And you're probably going to be able to stomach maybe a small fee by using Unstake if you want to get your tokens out quickly and liquid. And so I think when the wider crypto community cottons onto this and we see more assets listed, it's going to be a no-brainer product that many people are going to want to use on a regular basis. So I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of Unstake or Nutsack as we call it in the community here. If you did, make sure you do subscribe to the channel for more and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.